Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers. Latest updates.
At Windermere, we see a renewal of Sidwell shooting Dalton after Britt tells him off. Sidwell shot him straight through the heart, leaving him dead before he hit the ground. Sidwell calls for help drawing up the mess and suggests to Britt that this be an assignment to her. This is what happens when you cross him and come further trouble than you're worth. Pascal shows up, and Britt is shocked to see her nearly cutthroat again. He snaps that it was nothing particular, she was just annoying. Sidwell explains Pascal is his new butler and still has his uses. He asks Pascal to see Britt home, as she's shaken up and might do commodity unwise. She asks what he'll do with the professor. Sidwell notes he still has a use. Pascal takes Britt back to her room above Bobby's and warns her that this is her alternate chance and she wouldn't be given a third. He says if she gets the impulse to entrust in someone about any of this, to know she's being watched. Pascal walks out, and Britt screams into a pillow. Will Ezra concede? Lulu shows up at Laura's office to compliment her mama. Laura asks about Rocco, but before Lulu can tell her about the new plan involving Danny and Charlotte, Ezra bursts in, yelling he's not going down without a fight. Laura tells him it's over and the choosers have spoken. Ezra accuses Laura of winning only because Sonny bought the election. Laura tells him to go ahead and throw a hissy. Just not in her office. She shows him the door and slams it in his face. Laura and Lulu also sit down, and Lulu explains the plan for Charlotte and Danny to come forward in Rocco's defense and prove Dalton set Rocco up. She just hopes that when Dalton's falsehoods are exposed, he and all of this will go down. Laura becomes worried and says captivity is too good for that man. Lulu offers to take her mama out to celebrate, but Laura says she still has a little bit of work to do. She also thinks Lulu needs time with Charlotte, who's turning herself in hereafter. They clinch, and Lulu takes off. Where was Willow when Drew was shot? Alexis finds Willow staying for her in her office, and is confused that they don't have an appointment. Willow wants a more active part in her own defense. Alexis says right now it's stylish she stays out of trouble, the limelight, and down from Michael and the kiddies. Willow admits she squinched up the last part formerly and tells her about the Jacinda incident at the Metro Court Gardens. Alexis tells Willow that if she wants to help, she should tell her where she was when Drew was shot. Willow says she was at the sanitarium working when Chase told her about the judge's murder. It shook her, and she just demanded to get out of the sanitarium, so she went for a drive, and that was it. She insists she didn't go to Drew's and ultimately went back to work. Who thinks Willow did shoot Drew and has bartered it out? What does Nina tell Chase? At the Brown Dog, Nina meets with Chase, who wants to know about Jacinda. He insists this is off the record and timepiece, and he's working to free Willow. Nina admits Michael forced her to hire Jacinda, but Chase knows that's not the first time they met. He knows she paid Jacinda to frame Drew. Nina admits she first met Jacinda when she had to throw her out of the Metro Court several times, and that she was frequently there with Ezra Boyle. Chase thanks Nina, who in turn thanks Chase for trying to help Willow. She admits she was hysterical Willow did shoot Drew, as there was a part of her that wanted to shoot him as well. Jacinda's unfortunate hassle. At the Metro Court, Michael dines with Jacinda and gives her a delineation Wiley made for her. Sonny intrudes on them and asks for an preface, so Michael introduces Jacinda. They bandy the election, and that Measure C is still too close to call. Sonny takes off, and Jacinda admits to Michael that this fake relationship is starting to feel like it's getting serious. Suddenly, Ezra appears and asks Jacinda why she's not been returning his calls, and offers to triple whatever Michael is paying her. Michael threatens to throw Ezra out, but Jacinda intervenes, saying Ezra is an old friend. She tells Ezra that she's in a new line of work now. Ezra suggests she keep his number, as Michael's likely to drop her as snappily as he picked her up. Ezra walks out, and Jacinda tells Michael he can't risk getting into public altercations. Michael's phone tangs, he reads it, and is stupefied. Sonny's admission shocks Carly. Away in the eatery, Ava and Marco stay for Lucas, who's running late. They make small talk, with Ava advising him not to break her Horson's heart. He assures her that he'll no way hurt him and will do everything to make Lucas happy. Meanwhile, Lucas rides up in the elevator with Carly, and they formally again argue about Marco. Lucas warns her that Marco is a part of his life now, so if she can't get on board, he'll have to cut her out. They step off the elevator, and Carly joins Sunny at a table. She reflections to him about her problems with Lucas, and the mistake he's timber moving in with Sidwell, as he's dangerous. Sunny says that argument won't float with Lucas, given that she still has a relationship with him. Their talk turns to Rocco, and Carly is stupefied to learn that Sunny hired his sociopath, her word, family, Rick, to defend Rocco. Sunny explains that Rick wants to make peace, but Carly goes on record as saying this is the worst mistake ever. Sunny notes some people can change, some for the better, some for the worse. Carly catches Sunny looking at Michael, and Sunny admits he's not sure their son didn't shoot Drew and frame Willow. Carly is stupefied that he suspects Michael, and feels he's being sympathetic to Willow. Sunny knows Willow's made miscalculations, but she shouldn't hang for commodity she didn't do. Across the way, Lucas joins Marco and Ava, and Marco notices that Lucas seems down. Ava assumes it's Carly, who she knows has a problem, that he moved by with Marco. Lucas is just hoping his family will see she's wrong and apologize. It gets late, and Ava's phone tangs, and she says Nina's on her way to meet her. Marco and Lucas decide to head home. In the show's final moments, Laura is driving home and calls Kevin to leave him a communication, since he's in Dublin. Actually, he's in Maryland on another show. She tells him that she won, and she wishes he were then. Suddenly, she has auto problems and is forced to pull over. Ezra turns up at the Brown Dog, where Chase still is. The operative tells Ezra, for what it's worth, he suggested for him, and reflections about Laura letting crime run rampant in this city. Ezra, who's drinking, thanks him and invites Chase to join him, and we all know Ezra's going to say he was with Jacinda that night. In her office, Willow thanks Alexis for what she's done for her and hugs her. She knows her justification is terrible, but Alexis says it's more credible than Michael's. Nina joins Ava at the Metro court and tells her friend that she's feeling shamefaced for throwing Portia under the machine, which may have been for nothing, given there may be a way to annihilate Michael's alibi. At Sunny and Carly's table, Sunny defenses himself, and Carly gets a textbook from Jack asking if he'll see her tonight. Sunny approaches his son, who tells his pater, according to his sources at sunup, that Measure C didn't pass. Sunny gets to keep his peers. Marco and Lucas arrive home, where Sidwell is relaxing as Pascal serves him tea. Marco is suspicious that his pater isn't fused to the television for news on Measure C. In her room, Britt has poured and tries to administer her drug. Still, she can't get Sidwell shooting Dalton out of her head, and collapses in gashes. Back on the side of the road, Laura gets out of her auto to find a screw in her tire. She goes to look for flares in her box, opens it, and screams when she finds Dalton's formerly bluing body in it. The idyllic facade of Port Charles is crumbling, revealing a city teetering on the brink of moral collapse. The recent election, rather than ushering in an era of stability, has instead ripped open the seams of deception, fear, and long-buried secrets. Friday's episode is not merely a collection of scenes, it is a symphony of dread, a harrowing journey into the hearts of characters being forged in a fire of their own making. This is a day of brutal baptisms, for some, into a new life of terror, for others, into the cold reality of betrayal. The encouraging words offered are often whispers in a hurricane, and the angry threats are not empty boasts but promises written in blood. Windermere's bloody baptism, Britt's descent into terror. The cold, stone walls of Windermere have witnessed centuries of dark deeds, but few as chillingly efficient as the murder of Professor Henry Hank Dalton. The replay of the event is not just a flashback, it is a trauma seared into Britt Westbourne's psyche. The confrontation was swift. Dalton, emboldened by his own perceived leverage, made the fatal error of underestimating Jen Sidwell. Britt's defiant words still hung in the air when Sidwell, with the detached calm of a gardener pruning a dead branch, raised his weapon. The shot was not a spray of bullets in a fit of passion, it was a single, precise round through the heart, a clinical execution. Dalton was dead before his body crumpled to the floor, a stark lesson in the cost of becoming more trouble than you are worth. Sidwell's demeanor in the aftermath is what chills to the bone. There is no rage, no frantic cover-up. He is a CEO managing a problematic asset. His call for help cleaning up the mess is delivered with the same tone one might use to order office supplies. His words to Brit are not a shouted threat but a quiet, paternalistic warning that is far more menacing. "Let this be a lesson to you," he says, his eyes locking with hers. The lesson is clear: her life has a measurable value in his ledger, and that value is depreciating rapidly. The arrival of Pascal, the man who once held her at gunpoint, is a masterstroke of psychological torture. Brit's shock is visceral. To see her near executioner standing there, casually dismissing his attempt on her life as her just being annoying, shatters any remaining sense of normalcy. Sidwell's introduction of Pascal as his new butler is a grotesque perversion of domesticity, a constant reminder that death wears many uniforms in his world. Pascal's chivalrous duty to see the shaken Brit home is, in reality, a predator escorting its prey back to its cage. The journey to her room above Bobby's is a silent, suffocating procession. Pascal's final warning at her door is the sound of the cage door slamming shut. "This is your second chance. You won't be given a third." His insidious suggestion that she is being watched, that any impulse to confide in someone would be her last act, transforms her sanctuary into a panopticon of paranoia. The second he leaves, the scream she muffles into her pillow is the sound of a soul being systematically dismantled. This is Brit's baptism, not with water, but with the blood of a colleague and the absolute certainty of her own expendability. Her subsequent shower is a futile attempt to scrub away the psychic contamination, but the memory plays on a loop, leaving her collapsed and broken, a ghost in her own life. 2. The political and the personal, Laura's triumph and impending doom. In stark contrast to the gothic horror of Windermere, the mayor's office is awash with the light of victory. Laura Collins' win is a testament to the city's desire for integrity, a beacon of hope. The moment shared with her daughter, Lulu, is one of pure, unadulterated joy, a brief oasis. Lulu's update on the plan for Charlotte and Danny to come forward in Rocco's defense represents a parallel path to justice, one built on truth and familial loyalty. When Dalton's lies are exposed, he and all of this will just go away, Lulu says, her voice filled with hopeful certainty. This makes Laura's visceral, out-of-character outburst, "Prison is too good for that man," all the more powerful. It is a crack in her composed facade, a glimpse of the maternal fury that Dalton's manipulation of her grandson has ignited. It's the raw, human response that reminds us Laura's strength is not in her imperviousness, but in her profound depth of feeling. This triumphant bubble is violently popped by Ezra Boyle's explosive entrance. He is a man whose ambition has curdled into bitter desperation. His accusation that Sonny bought the election is the last, flailing gasp of a drowning man, an attempt to tarnish Laura's victory with the mud of his own corruption. Laura's response, to show him the door and slam it in his face, is a cathartic moment of righteous authority. She is no longer just Laura Spencer, friend and confidant, she is Mayor Collins, and she will not be bullied in her own house. Yet, this political and personal victory is about to be horrifically inverted. Her lonely drive home, the call to a distant Kevin leaving a message filled with a wistful longing for his support, paints a picture of a woman alone at her moment of greatest achievement. The car trouble that forces her to pull over feels like a mundane inconvenience, a minor annoyance on an otherwise perfect day. The discovery of the screw in her tire is the first hint of something sinister, a deliberate act of sabotage. Then comes the horror. The act of opening the trunk, a simple, mechanical motion, becomes a portal to hell. The discovery of Dalton's already bluing body is not just a shocking plot twist, it is a meticulously crafted frame job designed to destroy everything Laura has just achieved. Sidwell's message is unequivocal: I can take your triumph and turn it into a crime scene. I can make you the prime suspect in the murder of the man you just publicly condemned. The scream that tears from her throat is not just one of fear, but of utter devastation, as her new world collapses into a trunk of terror before it has even begun. 3. Unraveling alibis, the tangled web around Drew's shooting. The central mystery of Drew's shooting continues to fray at the edges, with multiple threads being pulled at once, threatening to unravel the entire tapestry of lies. Willow's crisis of self. Alexis Davis finds a desperate Willow in her office, a woman no longer content to be a passive pawn in her own defense. Willow's confession about confronting Jacinda reveals a simmering rage and a propensity for action that undermines her fragile facade. Her stated alibi for the time of the shooting is profoundly, dangerously weak. A drive to clear her head? No witnesses, no proof, just the empty expanse of road and her own troubled thoughts. The narrative deliberately plants the seed of doubt. Could a traumatized, betrayed Willow have blacked out the event, her mind protecting her from the horror of what she did? Her insistence that she didn't go to Drew's feels less like a statement of fact and more like a plea for her own memory to be reliable. Chase's dogged pursuit. Meanwhile, Chase's off-the-books investigation at the Brown Dog is yielding real results. His conversation with Nina is a dance between a detective and a reluctant informant. Nina's admission is a crucial domino falling. Confirming that Michael forced her to hire Jacinda, and then revealing the deeper connection, that Jacinda was a known nuisance at the Metro Court, often in the company of Ezra Boyle, ties two seemingly separate plots together. It creates a direct line from Michael's manipulation to Ezra's scheming. Nina's own shocking confession, that she, too, felt a fleeting desire to shoot Drew, adds a layer of profound moral complexity. It suggests that Drew's actions created a field of potential suspects, all with motive, and Willow is simply the most convenient scapegoat. The Metro Court confrontation. The public face of this conspiracy plays out over dinner at the Metro Court. Michael's performance with Jacinda is a carefully staged piece of theater, complete with a drawing from Wiley, a weaponization of his son's innocence that is deeply unsettling. Jacinda's admission that the fake relationship is starting to feel real is a warning flare. She is becoming emotionally entangled, a liability in a cold-blooded plot. Sonny's intrusion is not accidental. It is a scouting mission. His request for an introduction is the mob kingpin assessing a new player on his board. His subsequent, shocking admission to Carly, that he suspects their own son may be the shooter, lands with the force of a physical blow. Carly's worldview, which neatly categorizes people as family or foe, cannot compute this. For Sonny, it is a grim, pragmatic assessment. He knows the capacity for darkness exists in everyone, and he understands that love can drive a person to monstrous acts. This schism between the parents over their son's potential guilt adds a devastating new dimension to the core mystery. Ezra's confrontation with Jacinda at the restaurant, and his offer to triple her pay, reveals a man who still believes money is the ultimate solvent for any problem. His warning that Michael will drop her is a projection of his own transactional nature. The stunned look on Michael's face after reading a text message as the scene concludes signals that this carefully constructed house of cards is beginning to tremble. 4. Fractured families and shifting alliances. Amidst the central crises, the personal lives of Port Charles's residents continue to be battlefields. Sonny's contradictions. Sonny Corinthos is a man straddling two worlds. He offers surprisingly tender, insightful advice to Gio, advocating for patience and understanding with Dante, a wisdom born of his own failures as a father. Yet, in the same breath, he reveals to Carly that he has enlisted his notoriously unstable and morally flexible brother, Rick Lansing, to defend Rocco. To Carly, this is an unforgivable sin, aligning them with a sociopath. For Sonny, it is a pragmatic choice. He needs a bulldog who understands the gray areas of the law, and Rick desires reconciliation. This dichotomy is the essence of Sonny, the yearning for family redemption clashing with the brutal necessities of his world. Carly and Lucas's rupture. The elevator argument between Carly and Lucas is a painful illustration of how protective love can become a destructive force. Carly, armed with the certain knowledge of Sidwell's danger, cannot stand by silently. Lucas, feeling judged and controlled, delivers an ultimatum: accept Marco or be cut out of his life. It's a heart-wrenching conflict where both parties are right from their own perspectives. Lucas's hope for an apology is a testament to his love for his sister, but it overlooks the fact that Carly's objections are not based on prejudice, but on cold, hard, life-and-death facts. Marco's precarious position. The domestic scene between Marco, Lucas, and the ominously present Sidwell and Pascal is dripping with unspoken tension. Marco's suspicion that his father isn't glued to the TV for the Measure C results is astute. It suggests Sidwell already knows the outcome, or, more chillingly, that he has engineered it. Marco is living with the devil, and his big decision looms. Will he continue to be a dutiful son, or will his love for Lucas compel him to break free from his father's toxic orbit? The final moments, a city on the precipice. As the episode draws to a close, the threads of destiny draw taut, setting the stage for an explosive convergence. The unholy alliance. At the Brown Dog, a despondent Ezra is joined by a venting Chase. This is a pivotal meeting. Chase's frustration with crime running rampant under Laura, while understandable, blinds him to the wolf in sheep's clothing sitting beside him. Ezra, seeing a useful, disillusioned pawn, will undoubtedly seize this chance to plant his own version of events, likely confessing he was with Jacinda the night of the shooting, effectively torching Michael's alibi. A mother's dread, Nina's guilt over Portia is a fleeting shadow compared to the new hope she feels about obliterating Michael's alibi. She is ready to burn Michael's world down to save Willow, unaware that she is playing directly into Ezra's hands. A bittersweet victory. Sonny's news that Measure C failed, securing his peers, is a personal victory, but it feels hollow in the shadow of his fractured family and the suspicion hanging over his son. The web tightens. The final image of Sidwell, relaxed and sipping tea in Marco's home as Pascal serves him, is a perfect tableau of his power. He is not a man who operates from the shadows, he infiltrates the very hearths and homes of his enemies, making himself comfortable in their lives. He has framed the mayor, terrorized Brit, and his influence stretches from the criminal underworld to the heart of the city's most prominent families. Friday's episode is a masterclass in building suspense through intimate character moments and grand, shocking twists. It is a baptism for all, a baptism into fear, into suspicion, into the grim reality that in Port Charles, no victory comes without a corresponding, and often greater, loss. The trunk is open, the body is discovered, and the real game has just begun.